As students get ready to head back to school, student athletes are also gearing up for the upcoming fall season. But what COVID protocols should athletes expect both on the field and off the sidelines? Let's take a listen.
I'm so scared because it's always going to be in the back of my mind. Like, I'm going to be surrounded by a lot of new people. But, like, from what I've heard, they've had to, like, fill out forms, like, every day on, like, who they're in contact with. But at the same time, it's just innate that I'm just going to be a little scared.
We still had a season last year, but it was cut very short due to, like, COVID outbreaks. So we only played, like, 10 games max. Usually we play, like, 15. One day we have someone, and then the other day we don't, and we have to play another position. I think the mask could be like required, or at least like at the beginning of the year. Now that like I'm seeing that like cases are going up back again, I'm gonna wear a mask during school.
It wasn't really that Texas football feel. The whole environment just changes. I would say that is what really affected, me the most about it with COVID and everything. Now I'm taking it day by day. I mean, tomorrow's promised to no man. So the only thing I'm worried about at this point in time is getting an education, and when it comes to athletics, to perform at the best of my abilities and help out the team in whatever way I can. Really try to get vaccinated. It helps us athletes and it helps everybody else around you. And, the more people we can get vaccinated, the more we can go back to living a normal life. And not just for me, but everybody around the whole world.
And a big thanks to all those athletes for sharing their thoughts with us. Well, you might remember Coach Taylor from the hit TV show Friday Night Lights. Well, let me introduce you to a new Texas coach that will undoubtedly warm your hearts. Coach Randy Allen has coached the Highland Park Scots football team in Dallas, Texas since 1999. With more than 400 wins, he has the third most wins of any Texas high school coach in history. And last year, Coach Allen stood with the team through one of their toughest years yet during this pandemic. In last year's 2020 season, they had to cancel the first 2 games due to COVID, and they didn't know that they would have a season until about 3 weeks before their first game. So what will the Scots football season look like this year, and other high school football teams across the country? Let's bring in Coach Randy Allen and again our Dr. Alok Patel from Stanford Children's Health. Okay, Coach, let's start with you. First of all, great to have you with us. You are fearless, that is for sure. Tell us what the biggest challenges were for you, Coach, for the team last season. I mean, from the first 2 games rather being canceled, to actually the players having to put their uniforms on in their cars.
All right. Well, it was very stressful, and it was a lot of up and down emotions. We put in the COVID protocols. We brought our own water bottles. We had a QR test that everybody had to take when they came to practice. We had coaches taking temperatures. We were practicing social distancing. We were wearing masks when we weren't actively involved in actually playing. And we were doing everything that we possibly could to keep our players healthy so we could start our season. Then about the day of our first scrimmage, I got a call from our administration that we had 7 players test positive for COVID and maybe more. And so they were going to quarantine our football team for 2 weeks. And they asked me about our dressing room because they said COVID might be carried through the ventilation system. They asked me if we could dress somewhere else other than our dressing room. And I said, well, sure, our guys want to play. We'll dress at home or dress in our cars or wherever we need to dress, but we want to play. And so for 2 weeks, our players were quarantined. Our players asked me, Coach, what does quarantine mean? I said, well, it means you stay home and you're isolated for 2 weeks. And so our guys did a great job, and our captains came up with an honor code. And this honor code went way above any expectations that a coach has for his team, and that they didn't want anybody to go to a party or take a chance of getting COVID from somebody else outside our football team. So many of them stayed home to do their classwork rather than being in the classroom. And they didn't go to parties where we thought maybe the COVID was being passed along from student to student. And after 2 weeks of being quarantined, we came back. We had 10 days to go for our 10 days to prepare for our first game. We won 11 games in a row and got beat the 12th game of the season. And but it was stressful because every day, every week, you didn't know whether you're going to get to play. You didn't know whether your opponents were going to call you and say that their team was quarantined. And so at the end of the year, our coaches were worn out, stressed out. Now, most of our guys, in fact, all of our assistant coaches teach class. So they were having to teach class in person and also online. And that was our coaches who had been in the teaching profession for a long time said, Coach, we're having to work harder this year than we've ever worked. We're taking class work home and working from our house. And so we were excited to get to the end of the year when we didn't have to wear masks and we could have some freedom and time to relax and recharge.
And hopefully this season will go a little bit more smoothly, will be a little bit easier. And so I want to bring in Dr. Patel here, because Dr. Patel, tell us, what is the risk for student athletes this fall, you think, and what protocols should they and their schools be following?
Well, Dan, first and foremost, I have to give a shout out to Coach Allen, not only for being a legend, but for actually balancing the responsibility and the empowerment of these teens to take care of themselves and encouraging that behavior, but also making sure that we're prioritizing high school athletics and we're doing things to make sure that our youth are still active, still getting out there and maintaining their mental health. So kudos to you, sir. Now, there is a big risk. This is no surprise. And the risk now is bifold. It's number one, that we have a more contagious variant, but we also have loosened restrictions across the country, lifted mask mandates on top of this growing vaccine hesitancy rate. So it's almost like a setup for localized outbreaks. And, you know, I'm just really I'm concerned about that. But I also want to make sure that high school coaches, anyone interacting with teens, are paying special attention to those scenarios, and that this go around, we are doing everything we can to keep schools in person and to keep high school sports going. And I think that has to be the priority. That has to be the end goal. So doing anything we can with respect to local communication, to vaccine outreach efforts, to even what Coach Allen mentioned about, you know, getting high school seniors, getting role models to work with one another and enforce that honor code. We have to do all of it to protect our youth.
So, Coach Allen, just playing off that, you know, most of your players and their families have been vaccinated. So how do you ensure safety for your team from the huddle to the locker room?
Well, I depend on our administration, who's in direct contact with the Dallas CDC, and they give me instructions on what to do. I mean, we worked out all summer. Our players have been up here for 2 hours a day, 4 days a week. And we've had no COVID outbreaks, and our guys have not worn masks, and they've not social distanced, and they've gone about normal activities. And so, you know, they either have had COVID or had the vaccine. And so we're optimistic that this football season will be more normal than last year for sure, but back to 2019. We're selling every seat in our stadium to our fans. Our band, our drill team last year was in the end zone when we had a home game and they were practicing social distancing. We hope we can have pep rallies in our high school again. So that's what we're hoping for. Our players felt like, and our parents felt like they lost a year last year. And they felt like they missed out on so many social opportunities with their classmates and so many things that make high school fun for young people. And we're hoping this year they get to continue those activities.
All right, Coach Allen and Dr. Alok Patel, we appreciate you having you both on today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.